Atocha Global Analytics. Please like and subscribe.
Hello, KT again. As always, I want to remind you that Atocha Global Analytics was created to provide insight and foresight into the street-level impacts of macroeconomics, real estate and finance trends, and the policies that shape them. And today we are covering, again, how much should a house be worth? Now, obviously, that varies from area to area. This is a way to determine what the house should be worth in your area. So we just covered lot values. Well, what we could cover before we move on to the second component, what we focus on now is a little bit different. Essentially, we're coming at it from the point of knowing what really anchors values when we move on to component number 2. And we need to act like we're stepping out of a time machine to do it. By the way, this video covers the most notable of these anchors of value, so let's address that. If you know the anchors of value, then you know what I'm calling normalcy, which is a healthy and undistorted market, or in other words, what values and prices really are supposed to be. It's truly what the market did while it had stable interest rates for a period of time, home selling at a healthy time frame of about 3 months to or a bit more, and building activity had been steady for a period of time, probably about 1 or 2 years. Most recently, this would have been after things recovered pretty well following the Great Recession, probably no earlier than 2015, and definitely pre-2020. So we established those relationships via ratios and multipliers, and we can apply that to new numbers to link the market together. So though normalcy might be what I'm calling it, this is called many things. It's a healthy market, a balanced market, or some variation of that. So again, what we are doing with all this requires finding the relationships and tying them to the best anchors of normalcy. So before we do that, first, a quick review. You'll need to know the following to confirm lot values. Know what lots sold when there was normalcy before. Know what new homes sold for at the same time frame. Establish a ratio or a relationship between the two, which is basically lot value divided by the price for new homes, creates this ratio. My targeted area, the area I'm drawing from, that's 9 to 13%. All you should need is some public records information about your neighborhood or area during that time frame. So during the time frame you know was normal and healthy. So you'll get the data for looking at today's market by using the following. You'll talk to builders. Again, as I've recommended, call independent contractors building something like what you'll be in the market for. Brokers and agents, again, regular real estate brokers or agents, I'm a little leery unless I really know them to be someone who does a little bit deeper dive into analytics and isn't just involved in sales. Appraisers are often boxed in by rules. Sometimes they're a bit too pessimistic and don't often have time to really do the fundamental analysis required. Remember, they appraise via a rear view mirror. That's what appraisers do. They look at data that has already occurred. They can't really forecast. So they aren't really trying to tell you the future. Also, any appraiser who was in the industry for more than a decade, presuming they were genuinely analyzing and reporting their markets accurately in the last cycle, I realized that they were unjustly blamed for things they didn't do, because that's actually what happened. The techniques that they use work great, but they aren't as reliable for massive market distortions like what we had due to what the Fed did and other related issues last cycle. And the mass lockdowns and changes in patterns also have really distorted the market, et cetera. So appraisers are often a great source for historical data. If you can get them to look back into their files during a period of normalcy, that'll be golden. Also, you need to use a combination of government records and a few searches and online tools, which I'll expand on later. So reminder, if you go get the data and do what I'm doing here, you'll know generally what the house should be worth, and you can avoid buying an overpriced home. Now, that is a simplified version, but this process does take a little bit of careful analysis. Also, if you've truly done this and in addition to what a house should be worth, you actually have one other truly key piece of information here, and that's when you should buy, or you will know when you should buy. Once the typical lot to package ratio aligns with the long-term average, you know that the market is aligned with what is historically normal. Key insight right here. Please know that knowing the price of a lot via a ratio could be misleading in a declining market, as lot prices will likely reach that price before the package price fully aligns. Lots usually drop before the package does. So you should want to know both the lot value and the new construction package price to see what they are. Also, in a falling market, typically there are far fewer lot sales, and don't just look at those lot prices. Use the full analysis we're doing here every few months so that you know how the market is really evolving. Now, about the whole process, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I took a real estate course over 20 years ago, and it was a real estate appraiser that was teaching it, and he had been out of touch with an old college buddy for a decade or two and had gotten into appraising after college, and they ended up reconnecting, went out and played golf, and so they're kind of catching up, and so the guy asked him, hey, what do you really do as an appraiser? What are you doing? So he spent, the next couple minutes explaining what he does, and the guy's standing there at a tee box, turns and looks at him, and he says, "Oh, so you compare things?" And that just seemed so simplified that he immediately wanted to react and tell the guy, "No, that's not what I do." And then he started thinking about it and realized everything he did, it didn't seem to matter what specific thing he happened to bring up. He was essentially comparing something to something else. So what he did for a living was comparing things. And that's what we're doing right here. We're comparing things. So let's compare recent years selling prices and lot values that I dredged up for the last 4 years so that we can look at my market. This is some comparing I did of lots that normalizing construction costs, so I could actually track where the actual lot value ratio was during the given years. So here you'll see May, using May from 2020 through 2023, you'll see what the median selling price of a home was at the time, what the lot values were, what the ratio was, what the structural costs were. That's removing some things, which I'll cover in more detail, but I was able to bring it down to just the structural costs, could see what the structural year over year and some various information was. Also adjusted for some inflation so that I could confirm what the ratio was. So literally we have 16.3% in 2020 was the lot to package price, or lot to package ratio, and it increased all the way up to 30.3% when we get to 2023. And so you can see that right about the time the lockdowns disrupted the market, the ratio for existing homes was at about 16.3%. Remember, lot values are actually the same for new and existing homes, but the older home structures themselves are worth less due to depreciation over time. So that is a pretty telling ratio for my area. 16.3 was probably about right for existing homes. 9 to 13% is the norm for new homes. So yeah, the 16.3 sounds about right, or normal for existing homes, which is where I happen to source this data. So it sounds really about right when the depreciated value for the existing home on any given lot, when the existing home itself is worth comparatively less than new. And with that, since we focused on lots for component number 1, we're now on to component number 2, which is our first and most dominant value anchor for this analysis, and that is construction costs. Before I get into the practical part associated with construction costs, I wanted to cover why this is an anchor. It's simple to say. Construction costs are seriously anchored to where the economy really is. Whether or not you really believe the government's numbers on inflation, this is one area where inflation is truly reflected. We have labor costs, we have material costs, we have energy costs. Everything distills down into construction costs. The cost may go up and down for a period of time due to shortages or supply and demand factors, but this is the real deal about inflation. The reality is when demand for new homes truly slows, the cost goes down only so far before builders stop building. Why? Simple. Cost for materials can only go so low in a slowdown, and builders can't lose money for too long or they're out of business. So consider this the floor for expressing real inflation over time. Now, how do we get building cost information? Builders are the real source for this information. The first thing here is to prepare yourself to ask some smart questions, and don't talk to somebody who isn't investing their own money in building homes. You want the real numbers, not a sales job from somebody who doesn't really deal with the numbers. Too big a company and you likely won't reach the right guy. Too small or too new a company and he may not have the full overview you need. Here's a good trick. If you can search local building permits for new homes, possibly via an online portal, look for somebody who has about 5 to 20 homes currently permitted in the general area where you want to be, and try to talk to the grand poobah of that company, whoever that is. That's where I've always had good luck, is reaching that kind of guy. So here's a quick summary of what you want to know from the builder and what you need to ask for. Not necessarily in this order, as you might want the conversation to seem more organic or unscripted, but you need to ensure that all the data noted is there. So here we go. Let the guy know you do or you would have your own lot. So you're wanting him to be building a house for you, but also make a point of asking what he sees as the current lot price or value in the neighborhood you're looking at. Let him know if you proceed with the lot you have in mind, it would be cleared and somewhat prepared, which is what we often call a site. It's a prepared site. Okay. Make sure you ask what the builder's price is for building on your prepared lot, because you want construction costs right now and not a package price. Construction costs are unique to what you want, but here's what a typical house might look like and how you might ask for it. Say it'll be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage home of about 1,600 square feet. Don't include anything extra or ask for anything more until you have the numbers you need from the guy. Let him answer. He'll probably give you a range or something like $180 to $210 per square foot. What he told you is almost all you need to know for now. However, you got some other really good information you may need to know in the future regarding costs of upgrades to a basic home. He's telling you that his house is cost a range because the interior components and finishes are not all the same. So think about it. But we'll talk about that much later, but just think about the range. So based on $180 to $210 per square foot, call the quoted amount for a typical new home to be about $190, because most people will likely want some upgrades or will have wanted some upgrades. And then multiply that 190 by 1,600 square feet, which gives you $304,000. So hanging around builders, I can tell you that houses and commercial are different in a lot of ways, but this is the one I'll mention right now. When you ask about the cost per square foot for a home, they're giving you a number to multiply the living space by. With commercial, the price per square foot for construction is almost always multiplied by the total under roof. For this, and to be safe, you may want to ask a follow-up question from the builder to confirm. Ask it like this, say, that's $180 to $210 per square foot of living area, right? And he'll answer, but the norm is almost always the price per square foot by the living space. All right, what else do you ask for? Well, ask how much more is it if the lot is cleared and could use some fill grading? And if it gives you that number, ask, does that include the government fees not included in the actual construction? Whether or not he increases the number again, he's just told you the total for site expenses to add to the lot. So you have lot costs plus site expenses plus construction costs plus site improvements, and you'll have what you're looking for. That would be the cost of a newly constructed home. So here's some final questions. By the way, site improvements are driveway, landscaping, front walkway, rear patio, deck, that sort of thing. So final question, are the site improvements, and go ahead and state them, like the driveway, basic landscape, and et cetera, including your price? Yes. If he answers yes, then adjust your original price per square foot down by about $5 per square foot. If he says no, then how much more would they add? Make note of that. And that is your answer. And with that answer, you can think, bingo, you've now got what you need, well, for a new house anyway. So that brings up two very logical questions. First one, why do you worry about a normal lot price and just accept the construction cost? And here's the answer. You want to know the unfiltered cost for each of the pieces. You want to know it without any built-in assumptions. You really want to know the construction cost to create your ratio. New construction or new home construction costs are your value anchor. So here's the second one. If you're planning on buying an existing house, you don't need to know what a new one is. Well, actually, you do. Since every house was once a new house, they are just now used and changed, evolved over time. You need to be able to have new as a starting point to establish your ratio and confirm the lot value. However, since construction costs usually are a fairly immovable anchor and won't decline too much, as I was mentioning earlier, and not only will they not decline much, they may not decline at all when the market slows, or it won't decline for very long. These are a fairly fixed point to reference, hence why it is called your value anchor. So remember, presuming everything is equal, a new house is the top of the market, and other existing homes of the same size and quality range are typically worth somewhat less. Of course, an existing home should be worth less, but the land under it shouldn't be. So with the construction costs and a normalized lot value projected by using your ratio, you have to work out the difference between new and existing home, or how much does a house lose in value as it ages. So here's a summary of what we covered. We need to know what lots sold for when there was normalcy before, know what new homes sold for at the same time frame, establish the ratio or relationship between the two, which is dividing the lot value by the price for a new home. That's your ratio. As I commented before, my area, it's about 9 to 13%, depending on the particulars of the house or the particulars of the lot. Also, get structural construction costs for what you want to compare things to, what you're interested in ultimately buying, something similar. Verify what the lot values are with, a contractor. Verify the site costs, verify the site improvement costs, get all that data. This should provide you with everything you need to know for the new package price of a home, which is what we've covered so far. And in the next video, we will launch straight into component number 3. So with that, I want to ask you to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss new content, and I'll see you in the next video.
Atocha Global Analytics was created to provide insight and foresight into the street-level impacts of macroeconomics, real estate and finance trends, and the policies that shape them. What is happening in the financial world today shows us that those of us on Main Street are in a street fight for our financial futures. In order to win this fight, we need to become truly streetwise.